he wasn't being taken as seriously until we started seeing more and more and more of us being put into the picture in the conversation. Now, fast forward, 20, 30 years to the W, where you have Angel Reese and you have the Caitlin Clark. I think that it's super easy to paint a Black woman as an angry Black woman. I think that is like, it's people literally live for that.
Times change, people change, you don't go through the pain for nothing. It's yours for the taking, don't get complacent cause you gotta show that you want it. You get it, you got it, you flaunt it. My daughter do money phones with the hundreds. I don't do for the look, so pay me when I'm booked, cause I ain't got time to be playing. I'ma keep building my brand, turn my dreams to a plan, show my people that we can.
What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you out to episode 4 of the ThridWave podcast. Today I got Naeve with me, one of the biggest and growing faces when it comes to the sports management era. Okay. How you doing today?
I'm chilling, man. I feel really good. I'm happy to be here. I'm really happy to be here for real.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So now look, we just chopped it up a little bit before we got started recording. Kind of tell us, what you had going on in your day to day, if you can.
Yeah. So I was just coming from Bradenton, visiting the studio. I'm not sure if I can share fully where I was at, but just visiting a studio, looking at these the broadcast setup for a live stream for sports, spectating sports, and just shaking hands with the chief executive and really getting to know like the process of what it takes to create a production and all the elements that go into creating a sports broadcasting production. And I just needed to, get some notes taken down and really be able to see like how I can implement, from a broadcasting perspective, how I can use that to be able to see the world of sports through their lens and pretty much open up a whole different perspective of like how I can approach sports in the way that they're viewed. So yeah, I've been pretty much going all over around different cities, just seeing like the different types of organizations, the way that, their businesses are run and how they perceive certain sports. And just seeing the narrative that's created behind like women's sports. And I think it's important to be able to see all different like perspectives. So I like to, dip my toes in a little bit of everything to create my own, general perspective and idea of like how I want to proceed with things moving forward.
All right, okay, I hear you. Now, you're a doctoral candidate, you're a former athlete, a writer, and you're a big advocate from what I've seen, all of the articles that I've read that you've put out on the reimagining of the WNBA. Where did it start? How'd you get here?
Yeah, so I started playing basketball like really young. I was probably 3 years old when I picked up a ball, maybe even before that. And my dad played football, and generationally, my great grandmother was on the first women's national basketball team for Nicaragua. And my grandfather played in the military, played basketball, and served in Nicaragua as well. And then my dad didn't get the opportunity to pursue sports in school because, he was trying to survive.
Yeah, I get it. Trust me,
But I got the luxury of being able to, explore that avenue. So I played sports all through school, middle school, high school. It took a lot of people to really keep me on that track so I wouldn't, derail or anything like that. And then I got to college, and it opened up my eyes to a whole other world of like the different leagues that were in college, from the NCAA to the NAIA to the NJCAA. And I thought it was like a talent aspect of why everything was so separated, but I didn't realize it was just an access and opportunity, lack of access and lack of opportunity aspect of as to why so many different people were in different leagues. And I saw that because I originally committed to a Division I, going into my freshman year of college, decommitted because of family issues and wanted to be close to home. The only offers I had in Florida were NJCAA schools, so junior colleges. And I figured, why not just take that route? I don't even have to pay for school at all. And then get my AA, then transfer to whatever university I want to decide if I want to keep playing basketball or if I want to further my education. Yeah. So that was what led me to going to St. Thomas in Miami, because they have such a like in my opinion, one of the best sports management programs in the country. And they're a small private university. So for them to have like such a foundational and like structured program and being so small, I was like, I'm going to get everything I can get at University of Miami without having to fight against 500 other people who want the same opportunity.
It's less competitive.
Exactly. And still be able to pursue my love of basketball. So, you know, I believe my coach might have hit up the coach from St. Thomas, if I'm not mistaken. I just remember, you know, getting a call one day from a 305 number, and I was like, who is this? Who is this? So I picked up, and Coach Darren, he was the one who I got to speak to. He's the assistant head coach, or associate head coach there, and he really made me feel like at home before I even stepped on campus. Beautiful. And I think that was like the biggest thing, was because the reason why I didn't even commit to certain universities, like I had offers in California. I almost committed to this school in San Diego that I was so reluctant on going, just because I get to go back home to California in some form of aspect. But something was telling me like my future was in Miami. And so I didn't actually want to go there. But I went there because intuitively I just felt like, I prayed about it and I felt like I have to be there. I'm supposed to be there. So even though like my heart was in California, I still decided to go and stay in Miami. And then when I was there, I had, you know, injuries that, you know, really derailed and changed everything of my perspective of what I thought my career was going to consist of. And I found myself at a crossroad and said, okay, well, I came for an education anyways. A lot of women who play the sport of basketball, they play it for the love. They're not playing it because we have millions waiting for us, you know, contracts and all that. That's the difference between women's basketball and men's basketball. Is like, it really is about the love of the sport. And I think that from a competitive nature, like I grew up with, you know, a little bit of a troubled home, and I didn't have the same opportunities as the kids that played in AAU did and had these Division I opportunities everywhere, and someone was coaching them and advising them throughout the way. So really, becoming an advocate for the WNBA's growth is more so like, not just because I want to see women succeed, obviously, and be, you know, receive the same equity level of men, but I think it's more so of a foundational background, and it's like a generational thing for me. Like, how is this going to be perceived for the future generations of the sport of basketball, and what types of access can be provided to them, even if it's not just for the athletes, but from an administrative aspect. How can we support the communities in which those teams thrive in? And so for me, it was like, all right, I kept being forced to see things from a completely different lens than what I wanted to see it in. And so again, like I would just meditate and pray about it. And I saw and realized that as much as I love basketball, my future wasn't to be a professional WNBA player. It was to be a representative of the WNBA. And I know that is what my career is going to lead me towards. And whether that's a team owner or you know, an executive, that is a direction I want to take, because I know that there are certain things that I want to be able to implement and pursue in the sport of basketball, you know, and give back to those communities and even just to colleges, and be able to just be some form of advisement and show people that you have to find an identity outside of basketball, even if it is your whole entire world. And it was, it was my entire world. So yeah, I'm sure, I know you can relate to that big time. So,
so now, coming from somebody who dealt with an injury that, you know, sat them on the sideline for a year, you spoke on how injuries for you kind of derailed how you thought your career would go. Is that where the team, being a team owner and everything, is that where it kind of sparked? Is that when you first got that first, like?
I think since a child, I've always wanted to be a leader in some aspect. Like when I was a kid, my mom's probably is going to comment on this too. When I was a kid, there was this Walmart vest that my grandpa or my grandma, somebody gave it to me. I don't know why, but somebody gave me a Walmart vest, and it was like this blue vest that they had. And they made a name tag and they put my name on it, and then they put CEO on the bottom of it. And I would, every time we'd go to Walmart, I'd go around wearing it.
Had on the
And I would tell all the workers, "You're doing a great job. Take the day off. Like, you're doing amazing." And I was probably like maybe 6 years old or something like that. And my mom, you know, she let me live in that delusional state. She was like, "Hey, you gotta fake it till you make it sometimes." So my mom, and the reason why is because she came from a third world country and she didn't have the opportunity to pursue her dreams. You know, it was like, you're gonna be a doctor, you're gonna be a lawyer. So for me, it was always like my mom wanted me to pursue anything and everything that my mind wanted to. So, you know, I got to college and I kind of shied away from that because I just wasn't, it was hard being an athlete. Like I didn't get along with my first coach. It was really toxic, and I felt like I was losing the love of the sport while playing the sport, but I also knew that I needed to get this degree. So I endured a lot of messed up things that I did not need to. I shouldn't have went through it, you know, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, I was an adult, but I was still a kid because I was still trying to figure it out. I was 18, 19 years old. You don't know everything.
You really don't.
So from there, I started to realize that, you know, I know not every coach is like this, and I know not every university is like this, and I know not every team is like this, but I do know that if this isn't where I see myself 5-10 years from now, still dribbling a basketball for the sake of a paycheck or the sake of, I'm just not willing to endure the types of trauma that I have to. And that's why I have so much respect for athletes, because it really is a different level of, you know, sometimes neglectful towards yourself, but sometimes you're trying to find like how to maneuver through situations, people, audience, fans, like everybody has their own opinion about you. And I just felt like I needed to not fix, but I wanted to help change some things in that realm from an outsider's perspective. So that's, you know, getting into college, I started going, you know, doing my internships. I had an internship with Impact Learning Institute. I got to work with Formula One. I got to work with Miami Open. I got to work with Miami Art Basel, the Dolphins summer camp. Like I got to do so much, you know, being in school. And because of my injury, like I had all that extra time. And, you know, rehab was like horrible. It was the worst thing. Like I was learning how to walk again, learning how to run again. And even then, so like I wasn't the same athlete that I was before. And that was a huge shock to my ego and my pride and my confidence. And I had to figure out, who am I, you know, outside of a college athlete? Who am I outside of a basketball player? And who am I outside of sports? I need to figure out who I am without that attachment to sports all in all. And I saw myself as someone who just was a leader and someone who like was very outspoken and sometimes a voice for the voiceless. And that's what matters to me, is to be able to be someone who always stayed true to who they are. And a part of that is, you know, creating a, you know, future team for the WNBA.
Wow. Now I can definitely agree with you on when you say outside of sports having to find that identity.
Yeah.
Because I would definitely say when I decided not to play college ball, that was the one thing that I like. It took me years.
Yeah.
Just not knowing who to be, what to be outside of dribbling college ball. And it really turned into a challenge for me. So when we talk about your article, Breaking the Mold, you challenge the status quo.
Yeah, a little bit.
What in your eyes, what do you see the new model being?
So I spoke about it a little bit in my article, or I wrote about it, but I think from just to share outside of what I didn't share in the article, believe it or not, that was a watered down version of what I really wanted to say.
Okay.
But I would say sometimes you have to not sugarcoat it, but make it receivable for the audience.
Because it's a sensitive world now.
It is sometimes. And so for me, it was, aside of just breaking the mold, is when I was writing that, it wasn't just from what I see the organization as. I was writing from a societal, economic, historical place. I was writing from the foundation of our country, what our country looks like, how our democracy has been patronized, and essentially like how our world has been created from the dawn of time. Because business, yes, is just business. But at the end of the day, companies create structure based off of the structure of a country. And how strong that foundation is it's important, because it goes based off of, sometimes it mirrors the structure of our democracy. And so when I was writing from that, subliminally, I was stating that sometimes our country can be a little blinded to the truths of what happens and how people are impacted, in our society. And I think that women being paid equity in sports and basketball and in the W specifically is bigger than just them not maybe what was said, not receiving enough views or streaming. Like, it's bigger than just that. Because if you go back to the 70s and the 80s, the NBA always paid equity, meaning in that essence, basketball players and players in the league get paid, 40 to 50% of that revenue that the team or the NBA receives. The WNBA only receives 10% of that equity. And that is what we're talking about when we want equal pay. It's not Corley Williams should be getting paid what Stephen Curry is getting paid. It's she should have the same level of access to equity as everyone else in the league. And since the WNBA's veto power is held by 60% is held by the NBA, that means that essentially the NBA controls the WNBA. And if the NBA controls the WNBA, why are they not sharing the same model of equity for the WNBA as they do for the NBA? And that is the most important thing, because when you look at, when you pull the curtains back, look at how women are treated in society in general and how they're perceived from a corporate standpoint. A lot of women aren't given the same equal access to equity, and that's what it's about. It's about equity. It's not about I deserve to get paid as much as the CEO is getting paid. It's about I deserve the same opportunity that everybody else has. And that is what I mean by, when you look at a corporate or a business and you pull back the curtains, it is bigger than just the business. It's how the country has created the standard. That's the standard. And that is why I feel like it should be challenged, because we're no longer living in the same ages as we were in the 70s or the 80s. Things are different. It's 2025. On top of that, we're not living in the same, how would I describe it? Equal, women have a voice now, and they didn't before, and they fought for those rights. But also, when you look back at the women who led the women empowerment and women movement, earlier before the civil rights, they were vocalizing their rights for white women. It wasn't for minorities. It wasn't for minorities in general. When they were talking about, women deserve, equal rights, it wasn't about Black women deserve equal rights. It wasn't about Hispanic women deserve, it's about white women deserve equal rights. And then that is also another standard. And that's why I feel like when you're talking about sports, look at the majority of people who play the sports.
Yes.
It is minorities. And that's why I feel like the standard, if it were the conversations being had now, because we have representatives of the white community like Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark, who, they're two different individuals, two different athletes from two completely different backgrounds, but the conversation is being taken more seriously now because there's white women at the forefront. Whereas Black and Hispanic women mainly Black women have been leading the sport for so long, and no one has taken it seriously because it's systemic. That's what I mean by that is the core context and foundation of why things are going the way that they're going is because they're not going to take it seriously until there is a specific color of person that is at the forefront of those situations. People don't care about how things are affecting them until it's affecting them or people that look like them.
Yeah. So now, based off of the last statement you said, when we talk about how, when it's a certain demographic that's at the forefront.
Yeah.
With the Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese, all of that, the narratives that have been spun that Angel hates Caitlin and so forth. How do you view it? How do you think that those type of narratives diminish the W?
I think that one, it's again like we have so much media coverage now. Let's take it back to Larry Bird rival, like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and all these different rivals that were in the NBA in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Similarly, had the same type of input. Yeah. The difference is that the media coverage wasn't there. So it's a lot more blatant now. It's a lot more out there. And you think the NBA liked seeing Michael Jordan come in and do what he was doing to those white boys?
Oh, no.
No, not one bit. And that's why he wasn't being taken as seriously until we started seeing more and more and more of us being put into the picture in the conversation. Now, fast forward, 20, 30 years to the W, where you have Angel Reese and you have the Caitlin Clark. I think that it's super easy to paint a black woman as an angry black woman. I think that is like it's people literally live for that.
Oh yeah, it's a stereotype that it gets thrown around very easily.
It gets thrown around very easily, and it's the same thing with Hispanic women. The only reason why sometimes it's more acceptable for Hispanics to be known as like the crazy Latina is because majority of them are Eurocentric presenting. So it's a little bit more accepting. It's sexy. It's nice. It's cool. But because a black woman is standing up for herself and is being outspoken and is being clear about who she is and is confident. Confidence is a threat, especially to the enemy and to the opposing audience, because it's one thing to be great and be confident, but it's one thing to be great, confident, and a person of color. And that doesn't sit well with a lot of people. So I think that when I look at this, it's just another, typical, people don't like to say it, but sometimes it is a demographic versus another demographic. And I don't think that's right. I don't agree with that at all. I think that we should look at the talent, the confidence, and I think that I admire that. I love Angel Reese because of the confidence that she has. For sure. And also, Caitlin Clark got brought into the picture because Caitlin Clark, she can be a little disrespectful on the court. And she tried to, and Angel gave it back. Yeah. So it's like that people try to say Angel Reese is Angel Reese because of Caitlin Clark, but it's actually the other way around because she was brought into the conversation because he tried to mock Angel. Yeah. And because Angel is outspoken, she did it back.
I get that. And one thing that I never understood about that whole situation was that when you go over to the men's side, you have them talking crap. You got them there in each other's faces. Yeah. They're doing all of this stuff. They may say things in the media, but then when you go to the W and it happens, it's looked at different. It's like, you guys are doing too much.
It is.
So why do you think that is?
Well, because people and I can say this from experience, when I go, there's a reason why I don't go play pickup. It's not because a lot of men are better than me, because it's not the case. Because every time I go to the court, I still don't remember losing a game on a pickup game. So it's more of they don't like seeing women in male industries. I think that look at the gentlemen who are like you, who like the sport for what the sport is. You look at that makes you excited. Yeah. You get a little bit elated when you see like people are getting at each other. You're like, you like that. It's passion. Like it's fiery. It's intense. That's what makes the sport the sport. There are people sometimes who watch the sport not because of the love of the sport, but because either jealousy. Some people never got to make it past high school and play the sport, and this is their way of all they can do is spectate. That's all they can do. Then when it comes to spectating, and you're watching the game and you're seeing these women who are playing professionally, which you could never do, it is a hit to your ego and your pride because they're doing something you were never ever capable of doing. And it's easier to bring women down, which is what we see time and time again. It's way easier to bring women down than to admit that you're just insecure. So I think that it's from an EQ level, it's just a lot of people are lacking that. And I love seeing people trash talk. I mean, look at Diana Taurasi. Like, she was the queen of trash talking, and she's an Argentinian basketball player, but it was acceptable for her because she's white presenting. You know, she's Eurocentric. Same thing with Paige Beckers. If anybody knows basketball, Paige Beckers is a trash talker.
Oh, yeah, she is. Yeah.
She's like a mini Diana Taurasi, and it's acceptable. It's acceptable because of who she is and what she looks like. It's not acceptable for Angel Reese to do that. It's not acceptable for Courtney Williams to do that. It's not. It's kind of acceptable for Nafisa Collier to do that, but it's because of how she looks like. So, you know, it is unfortunately really about especially if you're a mass presenting woman. If you're a mass presenting woman and you're a person of color, you're probably at the bottom of a respectable scale. People just don't respect women of that caliber. Also, if you're a femme presenting woman and you're more feminine and you're, you know, are playing the sport of basketball, that's why they're getting so much eyes now too, is because a lot of feminine looking women are playing the sport, and is getting men who are just attracted to them, want to watch, which ideally that's what it is. I mean, I know a lot of women who don't even watch basketball go to sit courtside to watch basketball because they like what they see. They like the view. They like what they see. So, you know, we got to call things for what they are. And a lot of it is about what the audience wants to see, and sometimes they're not there for the sport. No. They're there for other reasons. Which is why they have like this whole thing with men throwing dildos at WNBA games. You know, it's like a lot of people are not there for the right reasons. No, they're not. And that's, in my opinion, is like, that's harassment. Like that's, you're not going to go to a volleyball game and throw dildos on the court. Like you're going to get arrested. But because people, again, people don't really respect women of color, you know, or even that women who play basketball, because they're seen as, everybody just assumes they're all gay or just assumes they're all masked or whatever the case may be. Like all these assumptions are made. So people just don't respect it to the level that it should be respected. And I think they deserve more, which is why I'm pushing so hard for it.
I haven't disagreed with a single word you've said this entire time. Because when I look at the WNBA, like I love how big it's becoming. I'm traveling to Seattle next month, and I'm going to be sitting at the Seattle Storm game. And I can't lie to you, I haven't been this excited for a basketball game in this long.
That's me. That's how I feel. I'm going to Atlanta to watch them play the Chicago Sky.
Oh,
I got those courtside tickets real fast. I haven't been this excited since LeBron played for the Heat. Maybe, I don't know. Tough time.
As a Cleveland fan, that would hurt, but as I love it. When you look at the NBA and the WNBA, how you said that the NBA kind of controls the WNBA. How do you see them kind of making everything align where the WNBA is getting what they're worth? Because from what I just read today is that they declined a deal, I believe getting a 400% increase in their pay, right? Going from, I believe the max is $1 million and then the minimum being $250K. How would you put yourself in that room? How would you negotiate to get that, say, 40 to 50% equity in the league?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that go into that because I believe 17% of the league's owner are private or individual, private investors. Then 45% or something like that is owned by the WNBA, and then 60% majority is owned by the NBA. And it gets a little tricky now when you're talking about certain deals and contracts being in, because from a board member's perspective, a lot of people have their own equity in it. So unfortunately, like a lot of people's investment and their investment portfolios determine, the future of a lot of these teams. And on top of that, when it comes from a negotiation aspect, um, every single team generates or has a set revenue or they generate their own revenue per season, and then you got to put in these operational expenses, to it, because, for example, the reason why Stephen Curry can get paid $100 million plus, a year, just, an example, is because the Golden State Warriors generate a shit ton of income, a shit ton of revenue. And now think about one of the lowest revenue generating teams in the NBA, which, correct me if I'm wrong, and I could definitely be wrong, but it could be the Detroit Pistons, or
that's what was in my head.
Yeah, so some around that, one of those teams. You're not, the highest paid player isn't getting paid $100+ million a year. And if they are, you got to look at everyone else on the roster and the staff and then operations and what the average salary consists of, and there's so many other things that go into play, what their sponsors are getting paid out. What do those contracts look like? You have to look at title sponsors, what they're, putting into, yearly or annually or biannually or whatever the case may be. And there's so many other factors that go into it that you have to look at, that you can't pay minimum every player $250,000. That's what, I would assume is what they're thinking or what they would say. So from a negotiation aspect, it gets tricky because not everybody shares all the numbers. So you have to come up with a number that works for everyone, but not everyone wants to share the numbers that, should be shared. Yeah. So I think that that's also a big part of it as well, is that there's a lot of underlying, information that isn't being shared, and whatever's being given out to the public isn't even 10% of what's really going on behind the curtain. So it is very upsetting to hear that they could have potentially been getting paid $250,000, but also the WNBA has, opt out of the collective bargaining agreement just last October, which, is a huge deal, because the collective bargaining agreement is what the standard for what players should be and should not be getting paid. It's why there's cap salaries. It's why teams have those caps for a reason, because of the CBA. So now that the WNBA has opted out of the CBA, there is no standard, but yet they still have a cap because they were in the CBA. So it's like so many other factors that are getting played into it that also aren't being shared, that from on paper, it's easy to get upset that these players didn't get $250K minimum, but what else is going on? And I think that a lot of times, like, we get fed information, but we just like either accept it or like get angry or like get emotional about it, instead of asking the questions like what's not being asked or what's not being shown or what's not being shown. So I think that's important, is like, it's hard to just, come up with an idea of like a negotiation tactic, or like what would I do? Because I need to know. I'm the type of person who likes to know all information to be able to create my own, narrative or perspective or opinion on it. So that's a huge deal, but it's also probably a deal that was never going to be made to begin with, if I'm being honest.
I hear you, because when I saw it, I was a little shocked. I'm like, it's a lot of money to kind of turn down. But then when you look at it from the standpoint of, the NBA, they're getting paid even more money just because of another percentage that they have. Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, make the smart deal. But now you kind of sit back and you're like, how is this going to work? Is this going to be a situation where, like the NBA had, where they had that lockout? Yeah. But then now it's, do all of these WNBA players end up going overseas? Or do they play in that 3-on-3 league? How are they going to make their money outside of that?
It's different for the women. Like, our future of basketball is completely, and I think that the problem is that the WNBA is being compared to the NBA. Okay. That's the problem. Not the problem, but it's one of the major problems. Like, the NBA and the WNBA, yes, we dribble the same type of ball, but it's a completely different ball game. It's a completely different game. The way that the game is played, the way that we see the game, the way that it's taught, the way that it's coached, on top of that, the way that we had to pretty much accustom ourselves to the game of basketball so that we can still even play the game is different, which is why the 3v3 is so much bigger in women's than it is in men. Because the 3v3 is a place where you get to showcase your actual skill sets. Whereas in the WNBA, you don't win a basketball game being like Mike. You know, that's never been the case for, you know, any college women's basketball team or professional basketball team. It always comes down to who's the most disciplined, who has the most grit, who's the most structured, who's the most polished, who listens best, who remembers best, you know. And then if you're able to, you know, get creative with it, you know, on the team, like, get creative with it. But ideally, it's never going to be, you know, like there's a reason why Caitlin Clark's and isn't a championship team right now. Indiana Fever is not a championship team because you can't do the same thing you were doing in college and in the pros. Granted, I believe that Caitlin Clark is a phenomenal offensive player. I think that you know, she still lacks a lot of things as to be like a phenomenal all around great basketball player. But at the end of the day, like, I think that this game is so different, and we have to stop comparing the W to the NBA because we're going on two different distinct directions. We're not parallel to one another, and the WNBA is not going to be what the NBA is today, 20 years from now. It's going to be something completely different, and really, I want that for them because you have to find a way that separates you from, you know, your counterparts, and what makes you different, what makes you exciting, and that's, you know, what makes a W exciting is the way that we play the game of basketball. It's completely different. So, yeah, I think that, like, you know, on a topic of like going overseas and like I played for Nicaragua. I played in Nicaragua, and it's from a Central American perspective, like, I'm one of the biggest players there out of only 5'10". It's just we're a lot smaller, so we have to play the game a little bit different. See the game differently, and then you go overseas to Europe, and the minimum, like, smallest player there is probably 5'10", 5'11", and you got girls that are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and so it really. And then there's different leagues within that league too. You know, you're playing at the ABC level that, you know, it starts to get a little bit smaller, but this level of competitiveness is still there because just because you're built different, you know, you just have to uniquely find a way to play the game that suits you. And that's like where it's starting to get into as well with women's basketball, is that it never was about your athleticism. It's genuinely about the love of the sport and just how well you are able to retain as much information as possible and showcase it.
Yeah. And I can definitely say, you know, with the comparisons of the NBA and the WNBA, a lot of the fans that I see on Twitter, Instagram, and all these like videos on TikTok, people talking about it, they always say how the game is boring. But from my standpoint, of somebody who played the game, coached the game, and had the opportunities to do it at a high level, I look at everybody that say those things, and I'm like,
you don't even know basketball.
You don't know basketball.
You just don't know basketball.
The W is, that's art when you really know the game, because they're fundamentally sound compared to the NBA. Yes, you have your Kyrie Irvings, you have your Kevin Durant, your LeBron James. You know, they do spectacular things that can take over the game. But when you watch the W's games and you see how that one player can take over, but everybody else around them
is doing something
and executing to a T. It, for a fan like me, it makes the game that much better. I watch their games more than I do the NBA now.
Yeah, it's like, for just to give you an example, like even if somebody looks like they're one-on-one on the court with somebody, look at all the other players around, because there's probably a backdoor screen being cut up. They're probably communicating a switch. They're probably, you know, you don't even know if the team has switched to a 1-2-2 to make it look like they're playing man, but really they're in a zone. And it's like, there's so many other things that go into the game. And it's like, now it's like a player who is, you know, on a one-on-one scale, it looks like they're open. Then the whole point is to get them to drive so that those players can crash and pinch inward. And then they're going to force you to kick it out. Now, if you don't have a shooter on that corner, go get the rebound.
Yeah.
But if you got a shooter in the corner down, that's a gamble on the defensive end. But sometimes they put players specifically in a certain spot so that way they know they have a shooter in the corner. We still want to pinch. We still want them to kick it out, force them to shoot that outside shot. But we're gonna put our big on that corner shot to force some, height on and give a height advantage on that skill. There's just so much other things that go into it, and it's like you have to be, it's strategic. And so I think that like when you start to, and again, it takes a different level of basketball intelligence to just be able to see that, and that's why the fans of the W, who are genuine fans, like they're fans of the sport of basketball, and that's why it makes it so wholesome.
Oh yeah, because the casual fan is not seeing any of that. But the crazy thing is, the same like you got that backdoor cut, you got this double screen on the other end on the other side of the court. Yeah, those are things that Stephen Curry are running off for that three that everybody so loves. But when you see it in the WNBA, it's this is more, which to me it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So, touching on your second piece from expansion to agency, you had a heavy focus on Florida. Why do you believe that, with everything that's already here, you have NFL teams, NBA teams, why do you think bringing in a W team here, it could thrive? Yeah.
Let's take it back to a college level. The Final Four has been hosted in Tampa at least 4 or 5 times. Every 2 or 3 years or so since 2009, I want to say. I believe so. Could be wrong with that date, but the most recent one was this year. And then the biggest turnout with over 100,000 fans in attendance was 2019, right before COVID. And the amount of, mind you, Final Four for women's college basketball, the amount of people who love the sport of basketball in this state, but in this city specifically, was astounding because we don't have a basketball team. We don't have a men's basketball team.
No, we don't.
We don't have a women's basketball team. And then the closest men's basketball team or the NBA is in Orlando. I would just leave that part up for interpretation. It's the Orlando Magic. So it's like, if you want to see some good basketball, you're gonna have to wait till the Warriors come to town. I don't know, or somebody. Yeah. I'm not saying nothing.
I don't have a problem saying it. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh my gosh. I don't have an opinion on that, but I just think that, you vet the cities, Orlando, Miami, and Tampa being another major city in Florida. And you look at the cultural aspects of the city's sports. Miami has, the Florida Panthers, Inter Miami, Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Miami Marlins. And then they have the women's professional soccer team in Fort Lauderdale. They used to have the Miami Soul back in 2002, and then which was a WNBA team. And then they also, I think I'm missing a sport, but I can't remember. They just have so many teams, like 7 professional teams. And then you look at Orlando, who have, the Magic, and I believe they also have a men's professional soccer team.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
And no baseball team, no basketball. Don't think they have a hockey team because Tampa has a hockey team. So it's like each city has something that maybe the others. Miami has everything, but Orlando and Tampa, because they're so close in market, is what they're saying. Orlando's, I consider it more East Coast than West Coast, but because they're so close in market, one city has what the other city doesn't. Yeah. But I don't know too many people who live in Tampa that want to go drive to watch an Orlando Magic's game.
I
do. I just don't. Now, flip the script. I know a lot of people in Orlando that'll come to Tampa to watch a hockey game.
Oh, for sure.
Or that'll come to Tampa to watch the Bucks play.
and soon the Rays once they get over here.
Yeah, they need to leave St. Pete. I'm an advocate for that for sure. Yeah, I hope they bring them across the bridge because there is nothing more annoying than driving across that bridge to St. Pete to watch the Rays lose.
Yeah, and they're not that good. So it's like you're wasting gas to drive all the way over there, and mind you, you're gonna hit nasty traffic.
You're gonna hit nasty traffic every single time, like clockwork. There's a good hour. There's no good hour. And we have two bridges.
Literally, it could be noon.
Yeah.
Traffic. It doesn't matter what time.
No, and it could be 3:00 in the morning on a Tuesday night. Traffic. So I think that there's a lot of big things coming for Florida, and Florida. I have a love-hate relationship with Florida. I love Florida. I love Florida because we're literally like a country. Like we're our own country. Literally. And I was born here, but I didn't get the opportunity to be raised here as a kid. So I don't know what it's like to grow up here as a little kid in Tampa. I grew up in Long Beach, California, so I had a completely different, lifestyle growing up. But I moved here as an adult. I moved here, at 18 years old, and I was a young adult, and I got to see Florida for what Florida really had to offer in so many other different aspects. And I fell in love with it. I think the part that I started to like not hate, but like dislike about the state is there's another demographic of individuals that really make us have a bad look.
Hey, if it's one thing my friends know is I say it all the time. Look, there's two groups of us.
Yeah.
And one of them, you gotta be careful.
You gotta
watch out.
You're not gonna see them in Ybor City. You're not gonna see them maybe in downtown St. Pete. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna see them. Miami's different. We're not talking about Miami.
No.
Because they'll look like you, talk like you, but they're not like you. They're not like you.
And they're everywhere.
Same thing, in Orlando. I call it Little Puerto Rico because it's just like there's no, and you're not gonna find the people that we were talking about there. Maybe on the outskirts, like Ruskin, Ocala. Spring Hill, Zephyr Hills. You can go out more towards the boondocks, and you gonna bump some shoulders. And those are that's what makes Florida different. That's why I say it's like there's two sides to Florida, and also the Panhandle. I say the Panhandle is a completely different country. I don't consider the Panhandle.
Anytime I go. And even when I'm driving through, I'm like, this just doesn't give the same.
This is not giving Florida. This is not giving Florida. And I think that once you go anything above Orlando, Jacksonville is cool. Jacksonville's cool though. I'm gonna give them their break because Jacksonville's the same thing. They're going through it. They're going through the same issues as everyone else. You pass that, you're a goner.
Yeah,
you're done. You're not in Florida anymore. That's Georgia, Alabama. Yeah. That's not Florida.
That's the best way to put it because you're not. No, you're not.
It's not Florida anymore.
For me, it's like once you get past Gainesville, that's like
Gainesville is. That's a tricky one.
So now with the NBA kind of expanding, I have a list here. Touching on Golden State, Portland, Toronto. And then come into Cleveland, Detroit, and Philly by 2030. How do you see, if Florida was to ever get a team and say they come to Tampa, with the talent pool in Florida, would you think it would be a good idea for them to say like, hey, we're gonna host tryouts? Because you have a lot of teams, even with these the expansion going on, they draft players, they go to camp, but then they get waived. And it's always the same narrative that I always see is roster space.
Mm-hmm. So I think that when it comes to that, Unrivaled made it it changed the game for the W. I think that people get to come and watch Unrivaled down in Miami and get to see their favorite players play. Yeah. And Then you're talking about coming into the season after Unrivaled finishes in March, April. The season starts in April for the W, and now you're looking at, I think it's like 12, 15 players max, something like that. On top of, you have people on the roster who won't play or won't, suit up or anything, but they're practice players as well. Who also are like, some of them are in minor contracts. I know that it's like that for the NBA, but I don't know if it's entirely like that for the W. A lot of these players, like, sometimes, like, the W is competitive.
Yeah.
It really is about if you got that dog in you or not. Mm-hmm. It really comes down to it. It's not about, like the NBA, you're getting 18, not anymore. I think they changed it where you have to be 1 year in college.
I believe so, yeah.
So you can, you got 19-year-olds coming into the league, minimum $900,000, in their pocket, and they don't really have to do much because they're young. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? For the W, you have to have a 4-year degree or be 18 years old if you're coming from another country. Minimum, and have played, professionally. And so you got anywhere between, majority of the time, you're 21, 22 years old entering your professional career. So by then, one, you should be pretty seasoned as a player, or at least have your own, your own idea of how you're going to, play your role in a sport. Then you get to the league and you get to the teams, and every coach has a completely different coaching dynamic and style, where a lot of these teams are recruiting players not because they want them, but because they need to have a certain number of individuals on that roster, and they need to meet certain requirements too. So a lot of teams are picking up players not because they need them, but not because they want them, but because they have to.
Yeah.
And so that's different to where in the NBA, they don't have to pick up, certain individuals, or they're doing trades in 2030. They're trading their 2029 first round, first number 14 pick. Well, they're doing all types of stuff. And the W is not, you don't have that same luxury. We only have 2 drafting rounds. So, from there's only 60 players or 64 players that are going, or, entering or accepted to be in the draft. There's only right now 15 teams, 15 or 14 teams, mm-hmm. and 12 to 15 per player. And you have 60 people coming into the draft. Like, they have to have that many people, or else they'd only have 1 round, and they're not making any money that way. Yeah. So it's always about the money. It's always going to be about the money. And if it doesn't make sense, you know what I mean? So
I'm with you.
Sometimes it isn't about how good or great you are or aren't. But if you are great, you better fucking show it. You have to, because it's a dog world in the W. And only the greatest of greatest will really be able to. There's a reason why Paige Beckers is the rookie that she is, and is hooping like a 5th-year vet.
But let me ask you this, right? The NBA allows, a lot of players, they come into it. They may not be as sound as they need to be, mm-hmm. but they're able to develop and mm-hmm. grow, right? Do you think that the W is missing that aspect where a lot of these younger players coming in, they're getting cut, where we don't get to see what this person may turn into? Look at Stephen Curry. Look at, as you say, like, for me, watching Angel Reese come in, mm-hmm. I felt that she lacked a lot of, from the elbow down. Mm-hmm. I felt she lacked that type of play. Mm-hmm. But as the season has gone on and as she's developed, I've seen where she's gotten more comfortable putting the ball on the ground.
But let's take this. Are you going to invest money into Angel Reese developing or Caitlin Shine? Who are you going to put the money into investing?
And I get that.
So
I'm going to invest in Angel Reese, but then at the same time, I'm going to look at it from an untapped potential.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But again, it comes down to the money aspect, mm-hmm. What they're willing to invest into. The NBA can draft that 19-year-old straight out of college from Duke and can let him tear his ACL, let him, allow him the year, 2 years to develop into the player with the potential that he has. They have the luxury to do that because of how long, one, they've been in an established league, but two, because of the money that they're willing to invest into the development of their future. Because certain teams will literally opt out. They will take themselves out of an NBA championship for the sake of who they have coming in within the next 2 years and the team that they're creating for the next 2, 3, 4 years to win the next natty 2, 3 years from now. And that's a guaranteed natty if they invest in this player right now, then, focus on the season right now. So it's a strategic thing in their aspect, but they have the luxury of being able to invest that way because they have all the money to do that. Whereas in the W, the NBA is still controlling the W, but they're treating us as a subsidiary. And so when you're being treated that way, you're not going to have the same levels of investment opportunities that you can put into your players to see what their potential is going to be. Because in the W, it's not about how we're going to win the Natty next year. F it. We know the Liberty are going to take this, but we have this player coming in in this year and this person transferring from the Euro League into here. So we'll focus on the championship for next year. You can't do that in the W. We need to figure out how we're going to win the championship this year, and we need to figure out how we're going to close out this Eastern Conference, and we need to figure out how we're going to shut down this player and this coach and whatever the case may be this season. We can't wait until next year. So if you're a player who has potential, and I know you have potential, you're either probably going to get cut because you're not a part of that potential right now in this season because you're just a rookie, or you're going to get sent somewhere else that could actually use you because they might be the missing piece of the puzzle, to whatever they're working on. So it is, again, always about the money for them. So you have to figure out, what's going to make you some money. And then when you have players like the Angel Reeses who, come from, could work a little bit better on, footwork, or could work a little bit better on athleticism or whatever the case may be, or shooting from, behind the arc or whatever. You're going to invest because what you probably invest into her having 2, 3 trainers every single week, you're going to make it tenfold by everybody who's coming to a game to watch her play.
Exactly.
It's just that is just that simple for them. So it is unfortunate, though, and I agree. I think that the W is missing that developmental aspect because also the NBA has the G League.
Yeah.
So not only, do they have these, 5-star Division I athletes coming in, but they also have a whole other pool of individuals that they can pull from. And the W doesn't have that, and that's why Unrivaled makes it a little tricky because you have all the stars playing in one spot, but there is no developmental league for the W. And I believe that that's one, it's going to cost a shit ton of money to do that, but also it's about what they're willing to invest into. And a lot of them just don't see the vision or can't see the vision of what that investment will look like because it's a women's sport.
And I think, coming from, a business aspect, right?
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing, you have to invest. You have to be able to spend money in order to make money.
Yeah.
And that goes to anything that you do. And I will say from my viewpoint, it looks as if they're scared to take a risk. They're scared to take chances. Because it's like, even if, you just give 3 or 4 teams a G League for women. Now you keep those players that are coming out of college that may be a little bit underrated, maybe a little bit more development. You keep them in your system.
Yeah.
So now it's okay. Draft comes, afraid that she comes. I'm going to grab her because I see something there.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's with the Unrivaled, partnership right there. That's a league that all of your players are playing in. You partner with them.
Right.
Now it's okay. When that season ends, this is where you guys go. And now you have a way to not only develop your players, but add more revenue into it.
Yep.
And I think they cut themselves off so much. You got, if they're not wearing Nike, if they're not signed athletes to Nike, they have to wear Nikes anyway.
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense to
me. Facts.
Like,
sorry, I was like, is this thing on?
To me, it just doesn't make sense. I feel like they kind of cut themselves short in so many different avenues.
Yeah. The league is still young too, though. So, the W started literally like 30 years ago, 20 years ago or something like that. Like, it's a young league. So it's, in my opinion, it's where the W is today in 2025 is much more ahead of where the NBA was in the 80s. So I think that it's just going to take the next decade. I mean, with media, it could take a little quicker. But I just think that from now until like 2030, things are they're going to be slow, but you'll start to see the fruits of the labor like a little later down the road, especially with the amount of ownership groups coming out. It just takes time. And you got like kind of have to trust the process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Also, like, for example, like I bring a team, let's say to Tampa, it's 250 for an expansion fee, 250 million for an expansion fee right now, today. There's no telling how much it's going to be worth in December of this year. Because, it's such a growing, super fast growing league. So that's why like I created like an ownership model, combining, the Packers, combining, the Green Bay Packers, because they're a community team. I think the only team in NFL that's a community and publicly owned team. And then when Las Vegas did that move from Oakland, that was a huge deal too. But they were able to nearly double their value of the team within 10, 15 years. So I think that if you're able to generate $4+ billion in less than 10 years, you're doing something right. So I think that's where the W is headed. And I think that with the right individuals leading this future ownership group and putting the right puzzles together, $250 million is going to be a cakewalk, and we'll be able to triple or multiply that tenfold within the next 10 years. So I think the market is here in Tampa. I think people are scared to take the risk in Tampa from a sports cultural aspect, but I think it's possible because I've seen it. I've seen people show out from different states, from different cities, come out to watch women's basketball, and with the right recruitment, we can bring some of the freshest, best talent from France, from Spain, from England, and bring them across the pond, and they'll play right here in Florida and change the game. Change the entire dynamic of women's basketball. And I don't know what team isn't going to be excited to come down to Florida and play, especially in Tampa. I mean, I ran into a few WNBA players in Ybor during Final Four weekend.
They were all out there.
Everybody was. And they've had probably like some of the best times of their lives. Think about how All-Star Weekend went, and I think it was in Connecticut. So it's like, think about like the amount of fun that they had. People are gonna be. Tourism is going to skyrocket. People are going to be so excited to come to Florida to watch a team play, especially if you have the right talent, the right staff, it's definitely possible. And the way that I envision it, like I see it being something so beautiful and greater than any of the sports teams currently going on in Florida. I mean, other than the Bucks has a certain type of fan base that I don't think anybody could top, dude. Like the Tampa Bay Bucks they're locked in with the city. So yeah, it's different. No, they go hard, and I admire that. And they have like an average of 64,000 fans in attendance on average every season.
That's insane. I would definitely probably believe that.
They're dedicated.
Tom Brady came in the Super Bowl, it even got higher.
Oh yeah, for sure.
back no more.
No, stay over there, please.
Oh, they want to see bowling and everything.
Oh, you know how hard it was to drive to the mall? Like, just drive to the mall. I shop at the outlets now at this point, and I hate the outlets. But
like, I can't tell you the last time
I've been in the mall. Yeah,
International. I don't like going there.
West Shore's damn near closed down. There's nothing in there but a Chinese restaurant that I really do like to go to. At the food court. So, but you know, and then it's changing the entire city. Like, it's the way it's developing. We have Miami developers building skyscrapers in downtown. Like, I even have visions of civic development here as well that I want to work on. So, yeah, we got some big things coming for Tampa, and I think the addition of a new sports team is exactly what the city needs.
I can definitely agree on that. Now, got a few questions for you, and these are just personal questions, just to have a little fun. So the first one, what would be the dream collaboration you'd love to see the WNBA do?
Collaboration, like a brand the W or like a team?
Let's go. We'll go the W.
Let's go the W. All right. For the W, dream collaboration, and if this is a good idea, I want my 20% of this idea. Y'all gotta pay me for this. Let me think. So, ironically, it'll probably be something that it wouldn't even technically make sense, but I would love to see the W in a Formula One car. Like, I'd love to see the players in a Formula One car, and like, you know, seeing them drive in them, or like maybe like the F1 Lego collaboration, but infused with the WNBA, and see them drive the Lego F1 cars on the track. That'll be pretty hilarious. I think I want to see the Stud Buds do that. I think that would be so funny.
That is the toughest nickname.
Stud Buds?
Yeah, that's so hard.
Because it's like, it's funny, like, and like the word stud is like, people find offense to it too, and I'm just like,
and I love that.
The fact they're embracing it, it's so funny. But I would love to see the Stud Buds in a Lego F1 car, and maybe even like, that's so random. I just want to see the players do like random things. So F1 Lego would be dope. I also think like if they were to do like a collaboration with like a Disney on Ice or something, and like see them like with the Disney characters. I feel like the little kids would love that.
They would, and it would also bring more fans to them.
Yeah, because more times than not, little girls who are watching Cinderella probably don't play basketball. Yeah. I don't know.
But it could spark it.
But it could, it could inspire them. So I think that would be like a really cool and like out of the ordinary collaboration, just to see them with like Disney Channel characters or stuff like that. So I think that would be really cool.
You know what? I like that one. Second question, right? Favorite under the radar in WNBA rookie. And you can go back a year, whatever the case. We'll take out the word rookie. Your favorite under the radar player.
Okay, so she's not really under the radar, but I think that she's gotten overslept because I think she endured an injury last season. Camila Cardoso. I think she is like, I think if they placed her, even if she's no longer with, Chicago and goes to another team and is embraced by she's a killer.
She's a dog.
She's a killer. Her and Cameron Brinks, she's another one that I'm like obsessed with. Like, first of all, Cameron being in LA just makes sense.
It matches.
It just makes sense. Like, her playing for the Sparks just makes sense. Her being a Stanford player makes sense. And I loved watching her play for Stanford. So they're not really under the radar, but I do think that they get a little overshadowed by like Angel Reese or like Nafisa Collier and like all the other, great basketball players. But they they both endured an injury actually, and I think that the next year or two they're gonna be killers. I think that dynamically and from a physical aspect as well, they have the potential to do so much more than just bigs. Cameron Brinks is already doing it. That girl is a shooter.
Yeah.
She can let it fly. So I think that when you're starting to see those bigs being able to step into those other roles, it challenges the game because it changes it.
Happening in the NBA.
Yeah.
You know, you got bigs stepping out, although
letting it fly.
I'm an old fashioned type of big coach. I want my big rim running.
Yeah.
But I love
basket to basket. Basket to basket.
But I love how the game is evolving. And I love seeing it in the W because I'm telling you right now, I would definitely say when it was like Tarazi and Sue Bird was my favorite player. But it was hard for me to watch the games. I can't lie. But now, I'm like, I see it on. I'm like, I need to watch it. I'm tuned in.
Yeah, I was the same way, and I loved watching the NBA growing up because I was a Kobe fanatic, and I loved Dwayne Wade as well. Those are my two favorite basketball players growing up. And then Lisa Leslie, you know, she Cali girl. Lisa Leslie, she went to Morningside High School, which is the high school next to my middle school that I went to.
Oh, wow.
And I thought I was going to end up going to Morningside because that's where everybody goes. But then we ended up moving to Long Beach from Inglewood. And I ended up going to Long Beach Polytechnic, where Snoop Dogg went to school and Cameron Diaz went to school and like all these big time celebrities. And, but Lisa Leslie, like I loved watching her play growing up. She's a legend amongst legends. And, yeah, she was the it factor for me was watching her because she was dunking. She was the first woman to dunk in the league. She could do it all. And also she was such a smart player as a big. And when stereotypically the bigs are never the smartest, you know, cookie in the they're usually like
they get put in a box and say this is what you're doing.
This is what you're doing. And that's like the stereotype in the sport of basketball is like the bigs are usually don't think. You don't gotta think, just do.
Yeah.
So but I'm happy that, you know, they had that representation now. So it's like Cameron Brinks is an intelligent player. Camila Cardoso is an intelligent player. They're phenomenal athletes. Paige Beckers, you know, she's a point guard, but she's an intelligent player.
She's a killer.
Yeah, she's a killer. I'm scared of her. So
yeah, I've seen some like film on her where, mind you, you're a rookie, and they get a rebound and they kick it out to her, and she's kind of telling her offense like, just relax. She gets them into a set and they score, and the other team calls a timeout. She walks over and she's like, and to see that from a
she's so poised.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's that
UConn. That's that UConn coaching right there. You're not just. I mean, look at Diana Taurasi. She's a Husky as well. Like he's doing something over there. Then I got AZ Fudd coming in hopefully in the next year. So it's like there's some killers that are coming in from UConn, and I'm a big AZ Fudd fan too. So. I think she's going to be phenomenal coming into the league.
Now, here's the tough one, right? Go to the WNBA, your top three.
Okay.
And then when we go over to the NBA, what's the order? Jordan, LeBron, Kobe. Where you put them?
Okay. Skylar Diggins, Lisa Leslie.
Okay.
And this is a hot take because I love Diana. She walks so Paige Beckers can run.
For sure.
But to see what Paige is doing right now,
you can't argue it.
She's a future greatest of all time. She's a future GOAT, Hall of Famer for the W. But for right now, for this conversation, I'm going to put Diana there.
Okay.
But just know that she might not be there in the future. She might get knocked over. Now, for the LeBron, Kobe debacle, I'm gonna put Kobe above everybody. Kobe's Kobe. Kobe's Kobe. Kobe is he's my dad.
But I'm more interested in hearing 2 games where you.
And then I used to believe, I wanted to believe that MJ was better than LeBron, because if I'm being honest, I'm not that great of a LeBron fan. Because he's just big as shit. LeBron is an animal.
Yeah, what is he, 6'7"?
But that is what makes him so special too, to be able to move the way he moves, how intelligent he is in the game of basketball, and how consistent he is. That's like the biggest thing. Granted, he doesn't have the same amount of championships, but I think that I too would be putting up 60 points in the 80s and 90s. So I don't know. I just that's a hot take. But MJ changed the game of basketball, which I think is why the conversation is the conversation. MJ was doing things for the first time that people just weren't doing. I mean, look at how we play the game now versus how MJ did a simple behind the back dribble. And they went crazy.
I keep seeing that video in circulation.
They went crazy.
Oh my God, what did you just do there?
Yeah, and I'm like,
he went behind.
This is why I believe that the women that they call witches in the past were never witches. They probably just had emotional intelligence. They probably just like, yo, like, you gonna, why are they just had common sense is what I'm thinking. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, but he did do it first.
Yes.
That's what puts him, amongst the greatest of all time. But I don't remember MJ having 101 points in the game. You know what I'm saying? He also had help. So I think that's the biggest thing is I've never seen MJ win a championship by himself.
The argument of he didn't have help, like Pippen wasn't there, Rodman wasn't there.
Oh. And not even just them, like, Kerr and all these other players there.
What was the guard?
He had
Ron Harper.
Yeah, Ron Harper. You had like in my opinion, you had Hall of Fame teams. So it's like the Golden State Warriors in the 90s and stuff. So it's like the reason why nobody gives Stephen Curry shit about him playing with Hall of Fame teams is because he's the greatest shooter of all time. He played in the USA Olympics.
Cool.
And Kevin Durant was wide open and gave him the ball with 2 guys on him.
Literally.
You're going to sit here and tell me that man isn't something scary? LeBron James is open on the left side in the corner.
And when you watch the documentary on Netflix, you can see where they were kind of like,
give it to him. Yes, give it to Steph. So that's why he's like, who cares if he played in a Hall of Fame team? Mm-hmm. Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. Michael Jordan isn't the greatest of one thing at all. He wasn't the all-time steals, all-time. He had some lockdown defense, but he wasn't the greatest defender of all time. I mean, when you think about who the greatest defenders of all time were, he'll probably maybe be top 5, but he isn't the greatest. The greatest shooters of all time. Michael Jordan isn't the greatest shooters of all time. The greatest mid-range shooters of all time. He's up there, but also there's so many other great players who did the same exact thing. And then, think about, greatest point guards of all time, greatest shooting guards of all time. And he wasn't just good at one. He wasn't phenomenal at just one thing. He was great at everything.
Yeah.
LeBron James, in my opinion, is one of the same thing, but he is one of the greatest defenders of all time. So
the game.
I don't like LeBron. I'm telling you this, but I'm not an idiot though. Yeah. So it's like, and the reason why I don't like LeBron is for the simple fact that like he's just a regular guy. Could he do this at Kobe's height? I don't know. That's the only thing that I question. But this man has played over 2 decades in the league consistently with no major injuries.
Nope.
and has had multiple finals championship appearances, has put a team on his back, won championships, and granted, he still had a little bit of help too.
Yeah.
He's played with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, in one team. This is just one team.
That's only one,
Ray Allen, this man has also played with even Birdman is like, you got Birdman was really tough. He's underrated, but he was tough.
He was that guy.
You also had Udonis Haslem.
Yep.
You had a lot of help too in the Heat. You also had a lot of help with the Cavaliers. You had Kyrie Irving. You had, for what it's worth, he's an idiot. You had J.R. Smith. You had,
just got triggered.
He's not an idiot, but he had one little slow moment, and so it's like you had help, but all these players had some form of little help. It's a leadership aspect, and I think LeBron James is a great leader. I think that he has amazing intelligence for basketball. He sees a game like a coach and has always seen the game like a coach and an owner. So he's able to create these experiences for people that are once in a lifetime, and he knows what you're going to do before you even know what you're going to do. And that's why he is one of the greatest of all times. And I don't like him for it. So it is what it is. But I'll always put Kobe above everybody. I think Kobe, to me, when you're never going to get that caliber of a player ever again. Yeah. That man, the work ethic that he had, the dedication, the obsessiveness, he was almost like, I can't even explain it. Like in his own terms, even outside of basketball, to see someone so committed, so tunnel vision on a goal, like that's an inspiration. And what I aspire to live through like every day is to be able to like zone in on just one thing and do whatever it takes to make it happen. If you're able to bring it to life and you envision it and you bring it to life, you deserve to be talked about one of the greatest of all time.
Perfect. Beautiful. I don't see a better way to end one of the greatest conversations I've had on this platform. I've learned some things. I hope you guys have as well. I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your vision, man. This was a great conversation. Man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Let the people know, man, where they can follow you, where they can keep up.
Yeah, my Instagram is just my first and last name at Naeve Duarte. My LinkedIn is the same thing. My TikTok is the same thing. Keep it very simple. I have an interesting yet, weird name, so I just kind of leave it like that. Hope people can pronounce it. But that's it. That's it for me.
I want to thank y'all for tuning in. This was episode 4 of the ThridWave podcast. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm not gonna lie, you actually put me onto a lot of